This is the story of Josiah and his wife Hannah Griffiths. They are my great-great-grandparents, through their daughter Martha Robinson, her daughter Gladys Packer and her son Roy Packer. Josiah was born in South Australia in approximately 1848 to James and Elizabeth Northey. Hannah Griffiths was born in Wales in approximately 1847 to Thomas Griffiths. I say approximately because their marriage and death certificates did not accurately align. There is some conjecture who actually is Hannah's parents, but her marriage certificate is more likely to be correct than her death certificate and states her father as Thomas and dead at the time of marriage. I also have a photo of her visiting her sister Elizabeth in Adelaide around 1900. I believe her father to be Thomas Griffiths of Port Wakefield area, but cannot fully prove this at this time. Josiah's parents came from Truro district of Cornwall. James was a miner and Elizabeth a servant. They arrived in South Australia on the Cressy in 1847 with two boys, Sam and James, born in Cornwall in 1846.
Kenman Church. Here's an Edward Northey, 1898, age 77. The cemetery just keeps going on and on. It's a huge cemetery. She was working in here when she got married, and then her name was James, I think. Little side of town, I think. Wow.
One must put in perspective the harsh times of their arrival, it being only 11 years after the founding of South Australia. In 2013 I was fortunate to visit Truro with my daughter Megan and film Kenman Street where Elizabeth worked and Kenman Church where we believe they were married. In November 2013 I visited Packer47 Cemetery, the primitive Methodist church near the location of Steelton to the south of Burra. Elizabeth Northey was buried here just 14 years after she arrived in Australia, i.e. 1861, at the age of 39 years of age. It was great to find her grave, and that had been recently marked by its descendants in 2009. I also visited Munter, where the Northeys also worked as miners and where James and his second wife are buried. And that has been similarly marked by his descendants in 2009.
It's just fabulous, look at that. Look at that country down there.
Burra is a pastoral centre and historic tourist town in the mid-north of South Australia. It lies east of the Clare Valley and the Bald Hills Range. The town began as a single mining township that by 1851 was known as Burra. The Burra copper mine was established in 1848, mining the deposit which was discovered in 1845. Our relatives Jane and Elizabeth Northey went there pretty early after they arrived. We know that from the birth of their first child, and in those days it would have been one of the few places they would have been able to get work. Kadina is a town close to Munter where Josiah and Hannah were married in 1868, or was it 1865 as per their death certificate? Munter like Burra are wonderful towns to visit as many of the early buildings have still survived, and the historic mining areas are now being preserved.
Yeah, 1865. Well, they definitely would have gone there.
Yeah, I was going to say they would have been here.
They were here then, yeah. Definitely here then. A little place, eh? See how scrubby it was? I did a butcher shop with it.
They had 2 children soon after, James and Lizzie. And then they went to the gold mining town of Hill End and nearby Tambaroora in New South Wales. Gold had been discovered there in the early 50s, 1850s, but the deep mining was becoming more prevalent in 1872, and for the next 8 years the greatest quantity of gold was mined in Hill End. From the records of this town we could see that his brother Sam came here after Josiah. Sam and his family first went to Rocky River goldfields near Uralla in New England district of New South Wales. They had a child born there. We do not know if Josiah went there before Hill End. I've been to Hill End many times over the years. It is a beautiful little heritage listed town sitting high in the rugged hills above the Turon and the Macquarie rivers. In October 2013 I was able to film it on a beautiful day. I was also able to find Bowen Street where Josiah and Hannah lived after they had originally lived in Tambaroora.
Hey, this is Bowen Street, that's good. This is where the Northeys lived. This is Bowen Street, not much left here now. Maybe it was a little house like this they lived in. It probably was actually. Right, it's Monday, first Monday in October 2013. Beautiful, beautiful little house. Been how they lived, and people still living like that today. Beautiful area, just beautiful. Down the bottom end of town. That was the Hill End post office.
Importer of ones, but it's not maker.
This is Tambaroora Street. Sure. Class of 1872, so maybe James Northey was there. The interesting thing there, in 1872, 1 out of every 3 infants born in Hill End would die before reaching school age. That's how harsh the life was. Wow, isn't that fantastic? Just to think that you had 140 years ago, you had relations coming to the school, walking down these streets. As far as world history is concerned, it's not very long at all. The old school, top of a little rise. Beautiful long weekend in October, quite a fin down the bridle track. Bottom daub and split plank house. This would be an old one.
Sometime in the early 80s, the family moved to Campbelltown, Liverpool, and then Prospect, and that is where Josiah Northey died in 1888. The family then moved to Granville about 1890. Sam Northey, his brother's family from Hill End, moved to Helensburgh near Wollongong. While they were in Hill End in the 1870s, there appears to be 4 Northey families, but I believe only Sam Northey was related to Josiah Northey. Also at Rocky Creek and Uralla, other Northeys were mining as well. In 1892, Hannah Northey remarried Richard Cross. It is Richard we see in all the photos in the 1900s. It's now 1900 in this story, and we come to the interesting photo of the Northey-Robinson picnic of 1901 or 1902. Just as a note is that James Northey, Josiah's eldest, married Mary Robinson, and Martha Northey married her brother William. Their mother, Elizabeth Robinson, came with her children from South Australia also, and had settled in Granville in the 1880s, 1890s. We know who some of these people in the photo are, but would love to find out who the others are. If you want copies of any of these photos or have information, please contact me on the email address at the end of this film. In 2013, I was also given the 1920s, 30s photo album of Josiah and Hannah's daughter, Grace Northey, and would love to find out who most of these people are in this album. There's about 200 odd photographs in this album. Hannah's daughter Grace and her brother Josiah owned and operated the Sydenham bus company,